I think as I've kind of been thinking about what I wanted to tell you about level sizes, I think I use my 48 incher about 70% of the time. This is Nate's. I think I use my torpedo level, that is I have a 12-inch Stanley level, kind of like this, probably about 10% of the time. And I have an 8-foot boss stitch level that I use probably 20. So I've got 70% on the 48 inch, 20% on the 8-foot, and 10% on the torpedo. That's because the work I do enables me to get by with a 48 incher most of the time, and I always have the 48 incher close by. You don't need an 8-foot level unless you're plumbing walls, unless you're framing houses and wanting to stretch from a top plate to a bottom plate. And you think, well, why wouldn't you just take your 48 and put it on the stud? Well, you can, but if the stud's crooked or bowed or got a knot or there's a nail bent over, now you get a deviation. There's an aberration in the straightness of the piece, and so you don't get a good reading. But an 8-foot level will span from top plate to bottom plate, and so you know that your wall assembly's plumb. Now, on the other hand, something like this 8 by 8 by 1/4 inch wall square tube can be assumed to be straight. Now, you need to look at these things and verify that they're straight, but this is straight. A 9-inch torpedo level, if the vials are well made and accurate, will give you as accurate a reading in that vial as an 8-foot level will, because there's no difference between the location of the point 8 foot up and 8 foot down any more than there is 9 inches apart. So it depends on what kind of material you're having to verify. For instance, this block wall, there's some deviation here with the split face, which reads that wall out of plumb, drop down, bingo, they did perfect. An 8-foot level's no good here because you couldn't get 8 feet between the bottom and this aberration. But on a wood wall, an 8-foot is going to be able to span from the top of the world to the bottom of the world. I hope that makes some kind of sense. For most folks, you're going to be trying to decide, do I want a torpedo level, or maybe a 2-foot level, or a 4-foot level? I think as you're thinking about this, for general work, 48-inch level is the way to go. That is, you're inside your shop, you're outside your shop, you're plumbing some fence posts, you're maybe needing to scribe a 48-inch line across a sheet of plywood. For general use, larger, rougher work, a 48-inch level is the way to go. If most of your work's going to be done inside your garage or inside your shop, or maybe, if you're an inside little tighter tolerance, finer work guy, probably a 24-inch level is about all you need. The only time I use my 24-inch is if I'm doing a soffit or something that's kind of restrained and kind of, inside a confined space and the 4-footer won't go, or if I have to level the head on a door, which you can also do from the top. But in general, if you're doing rougher work outside, you got to have a 48 at least. If you're inside your shop and your work is finer, a 24 is probably good. And if you're working with metal or your work is rougher and you don't really care if it's spot on, a torpedo is good. Up until about, let me make up a number here and say 20 years ago, the standard level that you would see would be an I-beam configuration. If it wasn't wood, we graduated away from wood levels except for masons some time ago. And aluminum I-beam levels began to be predominant in construction. They're okay, they're light, they're rigid, but they don't take a blow very well. And can you see that those vials are not protected at all? Those vials are easy to break. The vial is really the least robust part of a level. So you got to kind of protect them. Not only can they be broken, not only can they be knocked out of position, but the alcohol, I assume it's alcohol, spirit level, which is, as they're sometimes called, can evaporate. I have a very expensive level at home, Stabila, touted to be the very best, and the liquid in the vials evaporated. Gradually my bubble got longer and longer and longer, and I was having to average the distance outside of the lines instead of inside the lines. The advantage of an aluminum box level compared to an aluminum I-beam level is primarily toughness and its ability to shelter the vial. That vial is buried inside an aluminum tube. It's hard to break those. And as far as a specific recommendation, I would tell you to buy a boss stitch level, except you can't. They don't exist anymore, as near as I can tell. I got this at Lowe's. You can't get them at Lowe's. You can't get them at Amazon, so obviously I'm not shilling for the brand. Wrapping this up, everything on this job was done with a 4-foot level. That's a pretty good recommendation. So if you can only buy one, get a 48 incher, and as with every other tool, always buy the very best that you can possibly afford.